Koko the gorilla, breaking barriers between humans and animals. For thousands of years, humans have attempted to communicate with animals. But in 1972, a small gorilla named Koko and her teacher started a project that changed the world of language forever. Koko, who is the first gorilla to learn sign language, broke barriers in language acquisition and communication. As interest in animal communication grew, Koko's ability to learn and use sign language changed human views on animal aptitude and further developed research on animal communication, while also making us question the differences between humans and animals. Even though humans have always been thought to be the only beings capable of language, people have had an interest with animals using our language from the time that humans started interacting with animals. In 1661, Samuel Pepys, a famed English diarist, wrote that after meeting a baboon, he thought that it had already understood language and might be taught to speak or make signs. In 1747, French physician and philosopher Julien Offray de la Mettrie published The Homme Machine, or Man Machine. In this he wrote about an ape. Would it be absolutely impossible to teach a language to such an animal? I don't think so. These ideas became the foundation for the ape language acquisition sciences that followed.
In 1925, Robert Yerkes reiterated these ideas in his book titled Almost Human. After these ideas resurfaced, people like Winthrop Kellogg and Beatrix and Alan Gardner put them to the test. Kellogg, an American psychologist, tried to raise a chimpanzee named Gua with his own 10-month-old son, but abandoned his experiment in 9 months. 35 years later, in 1960, the Gardners, both animal researchers, theorized that American Sign Language, or Amazon, would work well for communicating with great apes because the apes could use their nimble fingers to easily form signs after learning them. Washoe, the young chimpanzee they used in the study, was able to learn 132 signs in 4 years. Considered a success, the experiment was ended in 1964. No significant experiments followed for several years. Then, on July 4, 1971, a female gorilla named Hanabi-ko, or Koko, was born at the San Francisco Zoo. At about the same time, Francine Patterson, a doctoral student studying psychology at nearby Stanford University, began to work on her dissertation on the linguistic capabilities of the lowland gorilla. Inspired by the work of the Gardners, Patterson wanted to transfer the study to a different species. She wanted to prove that gorillas are able to communicate as well as chimps, but first she needed a young gorilla for her subject. After gaining permission from the San Francisco Zoo to teach young Koko Amazon, Project Koko had begun.
Almost from the beginning, Koko attempted to make signs. They weren't counted as her first words because Patterson hadn't yet developed a system to verify Koko's signs. Observing Koko's rapid progress, Patterson created criteria based on the Gardners to validate Koko's signs. Soon after that, Koko signed her first official words, which were food and drink. She had broken barriers as the first gorilla to ever use sign language. Soon, she started combining signs to make words like more food. Then she began to make more complex requests, such as asking to go outside or have a drink. These were big steps in Koko's development. The plan had always been that Koko would eventually be returned to the zoo, but Patterson began to love Koko. Koko was, as Patterson described her, a baby, and I quickly discovered as dependent and affectionate and engaging as any human infant. Patterson was discovering Koko's personality and wanted to stay with her to nurture her and see her grow. Because of her feelings for Koko, Patterson wanted to adopt her. A replacement gorilla for the zoo was found, but Patterson needed to provide the money for that new gorilla. The local media took up the cause and they were able to raise the necessary amount. Koko was officially Patterson's. The years that followed were a time of great growth for Koko. She continued to expand her vocabulary and understanding of the human language, as well as strengthen the bond between Koko and Patterson.
Not surprisingly though, as Project Koko garnered attention for its success, it also attracted some criticism. Herbert Terrace, a psychologist working with a chimp on sign language at about the same time as Koko, claimed that the signing the apes had done, including Koko, was false. He thought that the apes were mimicking their instructors, performing a sign seconds after seeing it done by the teachers. Although this may have been true of Terrace's chimpanzee, it was not true of Koko. Koko was asking questions for more food or for Patterson to tickle her. Original questions like these couldn't be mimicked because of what Koko wanted at the time, not what Patterson signed. Colin Cherry, a noted scholar on animal communication, also opposed experiments teaching language to apes. He claimed that there were 3 significant differences between the way apes and humans used language. First, Cherry asserted only humans have the ability to speak with intent and feeling. The second difference was that human children can use language creatively. In other words, a child can make up his own words and still use them grammatically. The third was that humans use language imaginatively to speak about abstract and non-existent things. Koko was found to be able to do all 3 of them, disproving each of Cherry's points. Her abilities stirred a huge controversy, shaking ideas on animal language acquisition and disproving the theoretical barriers to ape-human communication.
In June of 2018, at the age of 46, after almost 5 decades of living and working with Patterson, Koko passed away peacefully in her sleep. By the end of her life, Koko had accumulated an extensive vocabulary of over 1,000 Amazigh signs, by far the largest vocabulary of any animal that had learned a human language. Patterson never expected such an outcome. After Koko's death, Patterson said
that there was an obligation and a bond that I could not ignore. And an emotional bond had been formed, just like between a mother and child.
Many mourned Koko's passing, including the Gorilla Foundation. They said in a statement that Koko touched the lives of millions as an ambassador for all gorillas and an icon for interspecies communication and empathy. At the time of her death, Koko had become an international sensation, meeting famous icons including Robin Williams, Mr. Rogers, and Jane Goodall. She was even featured on the covers of several magazines, including National Geographic. She was loved not only for her ability to communicate, but for her empathy and feelings she showed toward others. She especially loved the kittens that she cared for over the course of her life. When one of them was hit by a car, Koko was devastated and ignored her handlers for some time. These displays of compassion were what set Koko apart from the rest of the animals learning to sign. She confirmed what many people already suspected. The animals have unexpected depths of understanding we have yet to fathom.
Patterson and Koko's project continues today in the work of many organizations, including the Gorilla Foundation. They are fighting to protect gorillas around the world while also working with other groups to continue helping gorillas learn to sign. One of those groups is the Great Ape Trust, one of the few remaining organizations teaching language to apes. They work with apes using symbols called lexicograms on touchscreen computers, where each symbol represents an idea or thing. Rob Schumacher, one of the 5 scientists working at the Trust, says that the field needs to get away from trying to teach apes our language and really study what's going on mentally for these guys. The work of teaching the human language has become less important. Beginning in the 1990s, work started to consist of studying apes along with other species to see how they communicate with each other instead of with people. Kon Slobodchikov, a biologist and professor emeritus at North Arizona University, has been working with prairie dogs for many years to decode the secrets of their language. Slobodchikov found that in extremely short chirps, the prairie dogs are able to tell what the predator was as well as the color and basic size and shape. Slobodchikov says this complex type of speech is possible across the animal kingdom, not just with prairie dogs. It's just that we have not looked, he says. Slobodchikov blames the fact that humans have long assumed animals aren't capable of this type of intelligence. This study and others, like one looking into the nonverbal communication of wild gorillas and another decoding the patterns in whale song across different regions, have made us realize that language and communication are not as unique to our species as we thought.
Koko was amazing because she broke barriers throughout her life. At a very young age, she became the first gorilla to ever use sign language. Over the course of her life, she was able to change the way humans thought about language and how they used it. She used her ability to show the world that gorillas, apes, and animals in general use and understand language in ways that we are just beginning to recognize. Her legacy lives on today through the questions she made us as humans think about. She challenged ideas that we thought we had the answers to, like what truly makes us humans. She made us see that language isn't just for humans, but for many species.